received a job offer on the dark web. I now know why people go missing. I'd never been on the dark web before, and I didn't expect to be involved in it until I saw a strange advertisement while looking for jobs online. High-paying jobs for hire. This isn't just your normal 9-to-5 job. In desperation for a new job, and after searching about 20 pages of Google, I clicked on the shady ad. Slowly, new website loads, with multiple links to different jobs with different descriptions. Deep web jobs. House sitting. $100 per shift. Stay in a camera room. Watch all rooms. Keep the house safe. Rules in link. Seems easy. I thought to myself, God, do I regret that. I assumed that the deep web jobs application was just some quirky company name. There's no way that an actual job on the deep web would be this accessible on the internet. It would have been taken down by now, surely. On the screen, a sign-up sheet popped up, asking for my email. I typed it in quickly and was met with the message, "We hope to see you soon." Satisfied with that, I hopped in bed and turned off the lights. But before long, I was awoken by a buzz from my phone. I opened it to see a new email. "Your application has been accepted. Thank you for applying to the house-sitting job. You will stay at the house from 12 a.m. until 4 a.m., and you must follow these rules. Your money will arrive at 6 a.m. after your shift. Always. No matter what you hear or see, stay in the camera room." Seems easy enough, I thought to myself. But as I continued reading the rules, I realized there was something much darker going on here. Either don't bring your phone, or if you do not turn it on, even if you get a notification. I will not email you during your shift. Make sure to bring something that can play music fairly loudly. You must arrive at exactly 12. From 1 to 2 a.m. watch the cameras. If you see a man in the living room watching TV, turn that camera off until you hear the TV turn off from downstairs. Ignore any sounds you hear around the house. If you feel anything touch you, stop moving and close your eyes until the feeling goes away. What the hell? Something was really off about this job, but I assumed maybe it was some kind of test or psychological experiment, so I kept reading. The rest of the rules just continued giving more specifics of when to check cameras and open blinds. A bit strange, I thought, but it must have been for a reason, so I didn't question it. I continued reading. From 2 until 3, open the blinds in the camera room. If you hear a voice from the window, do not look at them. If this happens, press the button on your desk and hold it until the woman leaves. After 4 a.m., you may leave the house. Your shift starts tomorrow night at 471 Pedersen Drive. Sincerely, Mr. Salazar. I must have read that email 10 times over, thinking this was a prank or something. No way do I actually have to follow these crazy rules. I put my phone back down to charge and went to sleep, still confused by that email. All I could do the next day was think about what that email said. Man in the living room, woman in the kitchen, conversation with a person in the window. It all seemed too crazy to be true, but I couldn't help but to find myself 15 minutes before 12 with an old iPod in my pocket standing at the address. I entered the house. It had a sort of old but still livable vibe to it. The house was dusty, but the kitchen and living room were spotless. I made my way upstairs, and at the end of a long hallway stood the camera room. It was barren and small, with nothing but a chair, a camera monitor, and a couple windows in it. I sat down in the chair. Man, I hope this is worth it. It wasn't. Looking at the computer's clock, it was 12:03, and for the next hour, everything seemed fine. This job was going to be a breeze. I kept the list of rules on me at all times, making sure not to break them. It stated that I was allowed to wander around the house until 1 a.m., but I decided to just stay in the camera room. However, as soon as it hit 1 o'clock, I felt a sudden dread, telling me to get up and leave right now. I turned on all the cameras, and on the back of my neck, it felt as if a feather was resting on it. I froze. Keep calm, Chris. Keep calm. I closed my eyes as I remembered the rules. It felt like hours, that feather tickling the back of my neck, but I held out, not moving and keeping my eyes closed. The feather went away. I opened my eyes, relieved, and heard behind me slow, coordinated footsteps. I whipped around, the footsteps went away, and a slow chuckle came from the camera speaker. The man was watching TV. The TV was lit up with some cooking show, and the man was chuckling while watching the show. I turned that camera off and hoped I had done it fast enough. The sound from the TV echoed up the stairs, chilling me to the bone. What the hell is this place? I thought to myself, feeling queasy. And how is it only 1:20? The next 20 minutes were creepy as can be. Unknown sounds bounced around the house, the man laughing at the TV, watching all the cameras, until the silence hit me hard. The TV had been turned off, and dread had fallen upon me again. The noise from the TV had been a constant for the past 20 minutes, but now that it was off, the silence felt threatening. I slowly turned on the camera, and found the room to be empty. I sighed in relief. For what felt like an eternity, my eyes darted around the cameras, on edge, until the clock made a quiet beep, and it turned 2 o'clock. I rose from my chair and opened the blinds, revealing the pitch-black lawn outside. I sat back down as the clanging of pots and pans ringed in my ears. I looked down at the blue button beside the monitor, then at the lady, now cooking black eggs in the kitchen, and as I was about to press the button, "Hi, Chris," a woman's voice came from the window. I froze, gluing my eyes to the monitor, forcing myself not to look at the window. "Hi, how was your day?" My voice was shaky. It was obvious that I was scared. "I was just strolling around the neighborhood, saw you were here, and I just wanted to say hi." The window she was talking to me through was high enough up the ground to need a large ladder to get to. "How was your day?" "My day was fine, thanks." The woman in the kitchen started to get louder. "Okay, well I have to go. It was nice to meet you." "It was nice to meet you too. Bye." I wanted to get up. I wanted to just close the blinds and never hear her voice again, but something just told me that I should not get up. "Wow, you're a smart one. I thought that would get you. Maybe next time. Goodbye." I waited a few seconds. The last thing I wanted to see was the face of that lady talking to me, so I waited until I was sure she wasn't there anymore, then closed the blinds. Once that ordeal was over, I realized that the lady in the kitchen was gone, even though I never pressed the button. Oh no, oh no, no, no. I thought I had broken one of the rules and it was only 2:30. Now I'm sitting under the desk typing this out on my iPod, and there is a lady with a ragged apron on, walking in circles around the room. I'm scared to make any noise. So please, if you see an ad for dark web jobs, don't click it. There's a part of the dark web that we aren't supposed to see. I'll assume you all know about the dark web. Well, what you've heard is true. It's not a great place. While some people are there to score some smokable grass or firearms, or even out of sheer curiosity, others, well, they're obviously not up to anything good. But I'm not here to talk about those sickos. I'm here to talk about what lies beyond that point. The more cryptic and unexplainable part of the internet. The part that nobody's really supposed to see. There was an infographic that cropped up a while ago. Not sure when. The 8 levels of the internet. Maybe you've seen it. As interesting as it was, it's complete bunk. I'm sorry, but polymeric falsigold derivation means nothing in the Primarch system. However, that doesn't mean it was an easy place to find. Now, I'm not going to begin to tell you how to get here. It's unlikely that you'd be able to, even if I did. I'm not tooting my own horn here. I just didn't have a life outside of this. I was warned, of course. Everybody told me I wasn't going to like what I saw, that I wouldn't even understand it. Now I'm passing off that warning to you. Don't try to look for this. There's no official name for this place, or at least I haven't seen one. There were rumors, however. These ranged from an Illuminati chat room to a virtual holding cell for an experimental AI gone rogue. In reality, it's a lot worse. After a long and painful process of breaking down firewalls, encryptions, solving bizarre philosophical riddles, and following hidden links, I was finally directed to a blank page with one line of text and a text box underneath. Quid queris, Latin for, what do you seek? I remember feeling surprised, but in retrospect, I didn't know what I was expecting. I'll admit I was a bit stumped here, partly because I didn't know the answer to that question. I had no objective, I just wanted to see if I could do it. I tried some generic answers at first. I typed in the truth and enlightenment. Nothing happened. I tried a bunch of answers, but none of them worked. I was getting frustrated at this point. Maybe this was a gag page. Maybe I really hadn't figured anything out. If only. I tried something off the wall. Not sure how this came to me or why I thought it would work, but I typed in, what also seeks me. Now that I think about it, this thing might have been an AI. To my surprise, the page went blank, like fully blank. I waited. After about 5 minutes, I was directed to what looked like a forum. No, not even that. It was more basic. Just a list of links over a brownish-yellow background. The links themselves were indecipherable, just seemingly random sequences of characters, symbols, and letters. A lot of them I had never seen before. It almost looked like an alien language, obviously just a code I didn't understand. At this point, expectations were off the wall. Each link was a shot in the dark. I clicked on the first one. It loaded up a live feed of what seemed to be the Paris catacombs. I watched for a while, but it was ultimately uneventful. I moved on to the next link. It was a shaky video in a dark setting, but I could make out men in tactical gear. They were in a house, opening doors and sweeping each room. Eventually, they kicked one down to reveal a creature, tall and humanoid with scaly skin. It was gnawing on a dismembered arm. They tried shooting at it, but it escaped out the window. The video stopped there. Well, I was floored. What the hell was this? It looked too real to be unreleased film footage. I was officially intrigued. Maybe this was worth the months of headaches and bloodshot eyes after all. I couldn't stop now. I started working down the list of links. With each click, everything got more and more bizarre, more disturbing. I stumbled upon a document called The Paragon Project, detailing trials of human experimentation that would lead to superhuman levels of strength and durability. It was an apparent success. Looked official too. There were essays on space-time anomalies, glitches in reality, and apparent pictures of alternate dimensions. There were detailed explanations regarding Area 51, the Bermuda Triangle, assassinations, disappearances, and the true nature of the Holy Grail. One of the more upsetting ones was a document referring to a world-ending bomb, a nuke that's 720,000 times stronger than the one dropped on Hiroshima. I don't want to know why we would need that. I found contingency plans for different kinds of apocalypses: nuclear winter, biological weapons, viral outbreak. Some more peculiar ones were called the Marianas Trench Abnormality, the bluntly labeled Strange Man on the 15th Floor, and one simply referred to as Blackout. Recovered logs of skinwalker hunting expeditions, 911 transcripts from residents of a town in Texas that went missing in 1977, and even the journals that belonged to the people involved in the Dyatlov Pass incident. They didn't go insane because of the snow. I spent hours on there, looking through pages and pages of things I felt like I wasn't supposed to see. I came across a trailer to a silent film made back in 1910, one that apparently made people claw their eyes out after watching that nearly derailed the whole industry. There was a live stream of a hooded man sitting in front of a camera, head crouched down. He eventually lifted his head. Even though he had no mouth, a deep guttural hello came through my speakers. Somehow I knew it came from him. I didn't stick around for that. There were obscure sets of step-by-step guides that involved things like cutting off your own limbs and sewing on corpses, performing religious incantations in the middle of the Siberian forest, and going to coordinates that apparently housed captive fallen angels. It was unclear what any of these were supposed to achieve. There was also a 20-second long clip titled "The Futility of the Living." I didn't watch it. That's when I realized there was no way even the highest form of organized government had full control of this. One of the scariest things about this whole experience was that I didn't find an end to the list. No matter far I scrolled down, I think I had a meltdown and passed out eventually because I woke up on my floor in the middle of the night. I looked at my computer screen to see looped helicopter footage of a massive crab-like creature tearing apart a coastal island. I clicked off of it. I just sat there for the longest time. I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing, and I don't think I really wanted to. Now I'm not really sure why I kept going. My brain was screaming for me to take my computer out to the lawn and smash it into pieces, but I didn't. I noticed something I hadn't before. A small message at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. I don't know if it was always there or not. It was hard to read, so I had to squint. More Latin. Translated into, "Are you satisfied?" There were two options underneath it, yes and no. Now I knew the answer to this question. Hell no, I wasn't satisfied. I was horrified, scarred for life. But I should have clicked on yes. If I just clicked on yes, it would have taken me out of that godforsaken place, back to comfort and sanity. Even right now, I can't tell you why I clicked on no. But once I did, the page seemed to refresh. It was still the same basic setup, except there were only 4 links. This time, there were no recognizable numbers or characters. Hell, it didn't look like anything that could have come from this world. Just a collection of extremely crude symbols that didn't give off any sense of pattern or direction. I clicked on the first link. After about 20 seconds, I slammed my computer shut. I can't describe to you what I saw. All I know is that I wasn't supposed to see it. Nobody should ever see something like this. It's not only that it didn't make any sense, I can't tell you why it didn't. I couldn't begin to grasp the images I was seeing. It wasn't graphic or anything, not like that. I just couldn't recognize anything. I could make out things moving, but not in a way any creature on Earth has ever moved before. Colors that I'd never seen before. Just thinking about it gives me a splitting headache. This is my best attempt at visualizing it. We have 3 dimensions here on Earth. We can move forwards, backwards, left and right. These things weren't restricted to that. I can't explain it any further. All I know is that I didn't want to watch one more second. I don't think I would have been able to. I left my room. For the first time in a while, I was planning to leave my house. I needed fresh air, to take a walk or something. I was putting on my jacket when I heard a knock at the door. I stopped dead in my tracks. Obviously, I wasn't opening up. About a minute and 5 more sets of knocks came before somebody spoke up. "Open up. We know what you did, but we're not here to hurt you. We just want to talk." The tone wasn't threatening. Eventually, I obliged. I opened up my door to 2 tall, slim men in suits. They smiled at me. "Can we come in?" I still don't know how they found me. I thought for sure that I was off the grid. We sat down on the couch. I guess I was just waiting for answers at this point. One of them looked at me and said, "What were you looking for?" "I don't know, but I'm not going back," I responded. He smiled again, like this is what he wanted to hear. The other one piped up, "Who do you work for?" His tone was a bit more aggressive. I just shook my head. "Look, I didn't know what I was getting into. I wasn't looking for anything." They just stared at me for a while. "I'm not going to tell anybody, trust me." They finally responded, "We're not worried about that. Doubt anybody'd believe you." Another smile. Somehow it felt genuine. "We just wanted to know what your priorities were." In retrospect, that was a very strange question. "Just do us a favor and we'll leave." I perked up. "Give us the device you used to access it." I didn't ask any questions. I ran upstairs and basically tossed them my laptop. They both smirked at me one last time before heading for the door. Just as they were about to leave, one of them turned back. "I don't think you need to be told, but don't try this again, and don't show anybody else how to get there either. We'll know." I didn't ask who they were. I'm not sure I would have wanted to know. It's been a week now. I don't go on the internet so much anymore. After this, I'm going to try and forget. To try not to think about it anymore. I've started having horrific nightmares. Been seeing a therapist for that, but I don't think it's helping. Anyways, I'm not going to let this consume the rest of my life. The thing is, I'm afraid this might not be possible. There are some things we aren't supposed to know about, probably for our own safety and sanity. Don't try and seek them out. It's better that way. However, it might be a bit too late for me. I searched my son's name on the dark web. I now know why he went missing. It's been 2 years since my adorable boy vanished. Police advised us not to be concerned, saying that it was likely he was simply lost and would show up in the future. I never could have comprehended how much more horrifying the reality would be. Despite the police officers' vague assurances and unfounded assumptions, Tanner never did come back. Weeks and months went past. The police seemed like they had forgotten about him. My only chance of getting him back was if I did something myself. I searched frantically for anything that would provide a hint as to his whereabouts for weeks. I reasoned that given he spent most of his time at his computer, it was the best guess. Tanner was a developer for a large organization called Xperio, and despite numerous attempts to explain what he did to me, I was never able to fully understand it. I now regret not questioning him more when he was still alive. His dad used to run a PC repair shop when he was a kid, so Tanner became a tech-savvy youngster who was an expert at building and diagnosing PCs. Before he passed away, he had been dabbling with app creation in his spare time and had become fairly skilled at it. He revealed to me that he was developing a brand new app that would be unique from any others available. My only hope was finding the other programmer working on the project with him. I had hoped that he might know something, but after tracking him down, I discovered that he was an eccentric Satanist with a disorganized appearance. He avoided meeting my gaze and provided no helpful information except to share that Tanner had been extremely secretive about his project. He insisted the remaining details were highly confidential. I went home defeated once again, my only chance of finding him now wasted. Tanner's old computer was set up on my desk, so I turned it on and sat down, resolved to do some more digging. Luckily, Google had saved all his passwords, so I didn't need to try to figure them out through impossible guesswork. I searched through all his emails, his text history on his phone, anything that stood out. But there was nothing that gave any clue as to where he might be. If anything, they painted the picture of someone living an ordinary life, making plans for the future, with no indication of wanting to disappear. I was starting to think that whatever happened, it was against his will. I sat there at my desk with the mouse in my hand for days and then weeks, looking for something, anything of use. Everything turned out to be a dead end. Of course, I called the police frequently as well, but they were of no help either. But that was when I received a text. "Tell no one about this. If you contact anybody, I'm gone. I'm your only chance at finding him." There was a URL linked in the message. Another ding, another message. "Enter the URL on Tor." Adrenaline filled my body and I turned on the PC, locating the Tor application. That was when I noticed the little lens at the top of his monitor that was the built-in webcam. The red light was on next to it, indicating it was recording. Someone was watching me, and they could see what I was doing on the computer as well. I was sure of it. I texted back, doing it now. After typing in the URL exactly as instructed, the screen turned into a login for a website of some kind. I received another text. "Password is his favorite movie. You have 2 minutes." I didn't need 2 minutes for that at least, since I knew it was Fight Club, as it had been since that movie had been released. My hands were shaking as I typed the password into the box. I was beginning to feel very concerned, but also a bit hopeful at this sudden turn of events. A chat window opened up and a message promptly appeared from someone named Shadowcat. A message appeared on the screen. "You're his mother, I take it?" I typed back a response quickly, afraid of losing whoever this was. It felt like they could disappear at any second, back into the ether, and I would never find them again. "Yes. Do you know where he is? Is he okay?" I replied. He replied with another link, but this one was a lot darker. I typed in the URL and found myself at another website. It was a bit like eBay, except instead of selling old records and jewelry, people were selling guns, explosives, substances, and some very disturbing categories of videos. "What the hell is this?" I asked. He instantly replied, "Never mind your questions for now." Suddenly an image appeared, replacing the chat window. It showed my son Tanner chained to a wall in a stress position. He was blindfolded and gagged, but I could hear his muffled screams for help. My hands were shaking nearly uncontrollably. I was in pure panic like I've never experienced before. My own son was right in front of me, but there was nothing I could do to save him. "Trust me or don't. The choice is yours. If you refuse, he die. If you do what I say, I will give him back to you unharmed." It seemed there was no other option. I felt trapped and hopeless, depressed in the horrible situation I had found myself in. If I called the police, he would see me do it on the webcam. If I said no, he would kill Tanner. "Fine. Yes, I'll do what you want," I said. He replied, "Good. Here's your shopping list. Get everything on it." A long list of items was included next, and my eyes widened further as I read through it. The chat window closed suddenly. I was left alone in my living room, my heart beating fast and hard in my chest. Only the other website remained now, the one with black market guns and explosives and everything else illegal that you could have delivered to your doorstep. I debated calling the police again, telling them these new developments, or even going to the police station. But what if the kidnapper found out? He obviously had ways to spy on me, so I did as they said. I filled the online shopping cart with the requested illicit items and entered my credit card information, cringing as I hit enter. I guessed I would have to cancel my credit card since I didn't trust the vendors one bit, but at least that part was done. Only a week later, the package arrived in the mail. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I definitely wasn't expecting it to work. As soon as I had brought it inside, I got another text message. It invited me to another chat on Tor, where I was given a physical address. They said to meet them there with the package, and they would give me back my son. I was to tell no one where I was going. It was dark by the time I arrived at the old warehouse in the industrial section of town. My trunk had some cargo in it that would surely get me a couple decades in prison, if not more. Terrified, I sat in my car, still gripping the steering wheel tightly with both hands, despite the car being turned off. I had no idea what was going to happen next. Whoever took my son could take me too. Was this just some huge plan to unalive both of us? My cell phone chimed and I nearly jumped out of my skin. It was a text message. "Come inside through the east door." I looked up and saw a door right in front of where I parked. I was terrified, but knowing this was my only chance of saving my innocent son, I took a deep breath and got out of the car, bringing the bag with me. My hand shook as I reached out and grasped the doorknob, turned it, and went into the dark, cavernous space inside the warehouse. As difficult as it was to see outside, it was even darker in there. "Hello?" My voice echoed back at me. "Did you bring everything?" I jumped, startled when I heard the voice. It was raspy and low-pitched, and made the hair stand up on the back of my neck at the sound of it. Yes," I whimpered back. "Good, bring it this way." Terrified, I stepped forward into the pitch blackness, unsure if I would run into something. I moved slowly and deliberately, hoping not to hurt myself. "He's got it for us." "Yes," Suddenly I realized there was not just one voice speaking, but many. They were all around me, surrounding me in the darkness. I felt their movements in the air around me and heard sounds like the wind blowing during a thunderstorm. I heard them moving closer now, inching towards me. Their voices were in my ears as I backed away. "Where is my son? Show him to me or you get nothing!" I was terrified, but determined to get Tanner back, come hell or high water. "Or maybe we'll keep you as well, little son. Maybe someone will want you back badly enough to bring us more offerings, more dark treasures." As soon as the words finished echoing in the blackened room, a light snapped on. To my horror, it revealed not just one person, but a host of people. They were monstrous in their appearance, their forms human-like but twisted and deformed in a grotesque manner, as if they had conducted their own twisted body modifications on themselves. Some were horrifically tall, others possessed limbs that were too long, too twisted. Eyes glowed from some as if they had installed LED lights into their eyelids, whilst others had no visible eyes at all. They were staring at me, grinning with a glee that sent chills down my spine. In the corner of the room, I noticed a heap on the floor, illuminated by the harsh light. It took me a moment to register. It was Tanner, alive but not moving. His eyes were wide open, filled with terror. He was restrained and gagged, but most horrifyingly, he seemed to be changing, his skin slowly morphing into something resembling the beings in front of me. "You want him?" the tallest creature rasped. "First, deliver the package." Then it hit me, the realization that whatever Tanner had been working on wasn't an app. It was something far more terrifying, and I had been their pawn in this game. Their laughter filled the air, a sound as cruel and heartless as their grins, but I could barely hear it over the blood rushing in my ears. Tanner was changing, and I had brought the ingredients for his transformation. "Your task isn't done," the creature said, grinning malevolently. "Oh no, you're just getting started." As the words sank in, the lights went off, leaving me in complete darkness once again. The chilling laughter echoed around me, growing fainter until I was left alone with the unconscious body of my son. A sudden sharp pain exploded in my neck, and I instinctively reached out to touch the spot, finding a small, jagged piece of metal lodged into my skin. The world started to spin as I pulled the object out, looking at it under the faint light seeping in from the cracks in the warehouse door. It was a small, thin syringe, empty, but it reeked of a chemical scent I couldn't place. Something was terribly wrong. I could feel my heart rate climbing, my skin prickling with sweat as a wave of dizziness hit me. Stumbling, I reached for my cell phone, my trembling fingers struggling to unlock it. But I noticed something in the reflection of my phone screen. There was a figure behind me, looming in the darkness. I spun around, my back hitting the cold, damp wall. The figure stepped into the thin strip of light, falling through the cracks of the warehouse door, revealing a face that made my blood run cold. It was my son, Tanner. He was no longer the innocent boy who had disappeared a year ago. His eyes were now the same as the grotesque creatures that surrounded us. A sickening realization came over me. The transformation was complete. "Mom," he said, his voice unrecognizable, a guttural growl. "I warned you not to interfere." As the words echoed in the room, my vision blurred, my legs gave way under me, and the darkness swallowed me whole. The last thing I heard before blacking out was Tanner's voice filled with a terrifying glee. "Welcome to the family." I searched my sister's name on the dark web. I now know why she went missing. I've always heard of the horrifying stories surrounding the dark web. At first I didn't believe any of it, which is why I felt safe going on there. I just didn't expect it to lead me to find the terrifying truth of my sister's disappearance. My sister and I have always been really close, which is why I was distraught when she went missing 4 years ago. We called the police, who launched an investigation, but after 6 months of searching, they declared it a cold case. All they had were 2 photos uploaded from her phone that were taken in such dark lighting that nothing could be identified from it, or so they thought. Ever since she went missing, I've tried everything to find her. I uploaded her photos online, talked to all her friends, and even hired a private investigator. After none of that worked, I decided to turn to the dark web. I thought maybe I could find someone who could solve this mystery. Everything was going smoothly at first, but then I stumbled upon a website that would ruin my life forever. After clicking on it, I saw dozens of pages of kids who had gone missing. There was a price attached next to their names, and it was clear that this website was a space for criminals to sell their victims. I looked up my sister's name, and then my heart dropped. I saw pictures of her, but this one was different. They weren't asking for money. I didn't know what they wanted. After taking a closer look at these photos, I was able to identify the hotel they were staying in, but it was all the way in Brazil. I'd never really left the country before, of course, but I fought down the nervousness and did my best to research everything I could. The hotel was near a popular tourist destination, so I thought that it couldn't possibly be that dangerous. Looking back, I should have been more careful. Maybe it could have saved my life. After my flight landed, I made my way to the hotel. I sat by the wall air conditioning unit until I'd recovered, and then I looked around my room. I then realized that I'd come to the right place. The wallpaper was the same pattern from the photo, and the bed, mirror, and clock were all the right design. I saw my sister's photos on a bulletin board by the front desk, among others. The concierge soon approached me when he saw me studying the pictures. I touched the pinned papers. These photos. Ah, the older Brazilian man sighed. Very stupid, very bad. She went on a hike and never returned. He waved his hands for a moment before seeming to settle. The jungle. It eats people here. That was something more than the gossip back home about the incident. A hike? He replied. Yes, a hike in the jungle. Everyone knows you shouldn't stay there during the night. I asked him, is it safe to go alone during the day if I stick to the marked paths? He glared. but drew lines for me on a local map to show me where the girls had said they were hiking. "I don't want to put your picture up here too," he said. "It's possible she's still alive if the jungle did not find her at night. Hurt maybe. It's sad." I gulped, but put on a brave face. What was I doing? And why? I clutched the local map and adjusted my backpack as the concierge went back to his duties. I should have listened to his warning. I made my way to the hiking trail. It was humid as hell and stuffy under the thick canopy of gloom and green, but I'd somehow stumbled my way into a mission, and I couldn't turn back without hating myself. Where would she have gone? For hours, I followed the path they'd indicated to the concierge until I reached a fork in the narrow, overgrown trails. One path followed the black line he'd drawn, and the other led to what looked like a gorgeous waterfall basin. Maybe she'd gone the less traveled path in the hopes of taking gorgeous pictures for her online profiles. I carefully made my way down the waterfall and then nearly stumbled over a shoe. It was a dirty American sneaker, and I picked it up to examine it. Jumping back and letting out a short scream of shock, I threw it down on the ground. It had a foot in it, a goddamn foot. Holding back overwhelming revulsion, I peeled back the tongue of the sneaker to confirm it was a female foot. I can still remember the swarming flies and budding maggots in that stump of red flesh. I leaned back against the root-sprouting dirt wall behind me and tried not to throw up. I'd come all the way out here to find a rotting foot. I checked my cell phone. No signal, of course. I couldn't see the sun through the maze of greenery above, but my phone said it was getting late on the schedule I'd set for myself. Dusk would be coming, and it was time to head back. Even though I'd ignored the warning about climbing, I intended to heed the one about avoiding nighttime. Every single bush and hillock out here hid something alive, and I didn't want to see what might emerge in the dark. And then I heard her. "Help!" It was the faintest echo through the dense foliage, but I was dead certain it had been a hopeless female shout. I shouted back a half-dozen times, even screaming until my throat was raw, but she didn't seem to hear me in return. Or maybe she was incapable of shouting again. It hit me. One rotting foot didn't mean my sister had died. If only I'd gone home 30 seconds earlier, I would never have kept looking. Eventually, the terrain became more like a canyon with a river at the bottom, and I was forced to lift up onto dirt again. Here I found an animal trail splitting off in 3 directions. A cell phone with a cracked screen lay half buried. I brushed it off to discover that it still had some battery power and that it was not password protected. The text messages were mostly mundane conversations from the owner to her friends. The most recent ones were variations on asking for help. There was no information there about what had happened. But then I checked the pictures on her camera. Beyond all the typical selfies and photos of the airport, the flight, and the hotel, there were a few of the jungle I'd just traversed, the waterfall, and then the very path I was standing on. The next picture seemed to be taken from hiding. Between the leaves, the image showed a man brandishing a knife and peering into the underbrush opposite. I still couldn't see his face, but he was dressed in local wear I recognized from the shop. Had he seen the girls at the hotel and followed them out here? This was serious. I needed to be ready for a fight or to run. Suddenly tense, I put my backpack down, hid it under a few bushes. I then swiped slowly through the photos. The next few were of the trail I was on, and I followed it step by step, retracing the path the girls had gone. The man was not in these pictures. They seemed to be photos of landmarks that might help them find their way back. Many were blurry and had been taken in haste. No doubt they'd been running. I couldn't shout anymore either, not without potentially revealing my presence to that man. Had he cut off one of the girl's feet or something? How had her foot ended up back by that waterfall? Swipe. There's the rock. Swipe. Okay, there's the bend in the path. Swipe. There's the arranged stones to mark a direction when no other landmark would suffice. A few more swipes, and I was back where I'd started. The animal trails split off in 3 directions, and I could hear the river out beyond the trees. So they'd come full circle by accident, realized they were lost. Then what? Dropped their phone here in frustration? Or had they run into the man with the knife again and gotten caught? If there were 3 paths out of here and 2 looped to one another, that meant the middle one had to go elsewhere, right? I heard a noise behind me, whirled, saw nobody and nothing. I stared out into the jungle as dusk swept a dim shroud between the trees. I'd stayed too long and night was almost upon me. I had to go home. What was I going to do? Fight a knife-wielding madman in the dark? I could get the cops and bring down the cavalry. And then I heard her. Help! It came from down the middle path. As it became harder and harder to see, I crept down that middle path. If there was someone out here, I would only have a split second to strike back or run. The only advantage I had was that they had no idea I was here, and it was as hard for them to see me as it was for me to see them, as long as I only checked the phone intermittently to keep its light to a minimum. Swipe. A picture of the middle path in gloom. All right, on a night sometime earlier this week, they'd gone this way. Had they again looped back somehow to drop this phone? I swiped ahead a few times to see multiple shots of the path I was on. I stopped at a shot of the knife-wielding man from the side. All that could be seen was a silhouette in deep forest dusk. Looking at the shot disturbed me. Was I witnessing the events leading up to someone's murder? I swiped back to the path shots and continued following their trail. When I reached the spot where the man's picture had been taken from the side, I heard something crunching out in the darkness. I froze for what felt like an eternity as dusk began to approach night. All my senses told me that something was out there. Something was waiting and watching with malicious intent, perhaps even with glee. I could feel it. As absolute darkness fell, a change came over the humid and dense air. The birds went quiet, and my ears stopped hearing their shrieking calls with a sudden internal echo. I thought I'd gone deaf for a moment, but I could still hear my own breathing. Moving step by step, back down the path and behind a boulder. I got out the phone to light my way and to check further pictures. Help! I turned my head suddenly to try to get a bead on the scream in the absolute silence. It sounded closer somehow. Help! It was loud this time, painfully loud, and I sliced at empty darkness. The light from the phone showed nothing ahead, just unmoving leaves and fronds. I held the knife forward with no idea what I could even do with it, until a series of flashes went off right behind my head. Was it behind me? I ran for my life. Down the dirt, climbed along the river canyon in the dark, leaped up the scree, sprained my ankle. That's what I remember. Limping along the path I'd come down earlier that day. I'd lost my backpack and the map inside it. I thought I could remember, but the jungle transforms at night. All of the landmarks I looked for were impossible to find in darkness, and I knew something was out there hunting me. I made it out of there, but not for nearly a day. I spent that night crammed into a small rock hollow with stones piled up to block the entrance, and only enough space for my knife to stab out, all night long. Help! Help! From right outside my hollow, then laughter, and random bits of conversation mimicking what the two girls had said to each other before danger had found them. It had stalked and watched them for hours before night had fallen. A foot, that was all that was left. A foot severed by powerful jaws. When dawn finally rolled around, my sleepless body practically dragged itself out of its own accord. I don't fully remember what happened when I returned to the hotel, but they took care of me, and I did not tell them I found her cell phone. And you know what? It's been 5 days, and I'm supposed to fly back to the States tomorrow night, but I happen to know I'll never make it. I sit in my hotel room and stew in my own nightmare. I can hear it calling from the deep of the night. It's out there mocking me still, waiting, because it knows I can't escape. All of those pictures were taken before they ever happened. All part of the horror in the jungle where time knows nothing of the strict structure of civilization. I only came out here because of that last picture, the only one that hasn't come true yet, the photo showing my death. So I sit here clutching the photo I printed out. I just don't want to be awake when it happens. It's creeping closer now. The cruelest part of this is the clock on the wall. I know the exact moment as it ticks closer and closer, second by second. It's slithering up around the bottom of the clock now, around the bottom of my heart, numbing. The concierge warned me, but I didn't listen. Jungle wasn't the right word, but he straight up said it. He told me directly, it eats people here. I work as a dark web hacker. After what I saw today, I'm never hacking again. I'm probably one of the most experienced hackers on the entire internet, but some people on the dark web are simply pure evil. I don't think I'll ever be turning my computer on again. Growing up, I spent my entire life on my PC, and before long ended up in the 4chan hacking and looksmaxing pipeline. As you could imagine, this meant I had IRL friends. I was bullied and pushed around a lot, and was always too weak and scared to fight back. That was until I realized I could use my hacking skills for my own benefit, and to get revenge. I just never could have guessed this would result in the biggest mistake of my life. I had one main bully called Brock, who was the definition of a bumhole. He would bully me daily and make my life hell. I guess this made what I ended up doing to him easier to live with. Brock loved to brag. His girlfriend was hot, his figure was fit, and he was amazing at sports. His only downside was he was dumb as hell. So when I saw him on Facebook as a suggested friend, something clicked. With the help of some friends I'd met on 4chan and the dark web, I sent him a PDF file to his email, which gave me full access to his laptop upon opening it. That was when I started getting carried away. I had his laptop camera, location, everything. When his girlfriend came over, I was ready. I booted up my online dating application and started sending messages to Brock. Hey baby, can't wait to see you tomorrow. Last week was a blast. It was easy to convince his girlfriend that his online babe was real, but I didn't stop there. I downloaded on his laptop as much gay porn as I could find. You could imagine how his Muslim parents reacted to his fun drive. He never came back to school since then. My guess is he moved out of town. Now I wish I'd have stopped there. Oh God, I wish I stopped there. But I was addicted. That feeling of justice being served by my hands was so good. So I started targeting criminals, the type that used the dark web to hide and spread their filth. For 4 years straight I was a pain in their asses. Pedophiles, heavy drug dealers, hitmen, you name it. If they were online, I was making their lives a living hell. I thought I was being smart. I thought I was hiding myself pretty well. But I never could have known something was following me every step of the way, and it would soon tell me. I woke up one morning as any normal day, made eggs and toast for breakfast with a glass of orange juice, booted up my desktop and browsed Reddit. Then I heard a ping, the Facebook Messenger notification sound. Funny, I didn't open Facebook yet. Maybe I did and forgot. Wouldn't make sense as I rarely open Facebook. It was odd, but not enough to sound any major alarms. A message from someone I don't know. Hey Danny, what's the weather like in Japan? What the hell? Weather in Japan? I'm on the other side of the world. The name read, James Puckerson. On my other monitor, I started to go through his profile trying to find any mutual friends. Someone I met in a party or something. I responded with, Sunny, I hope. Anyone who knows me knows I hate the rain. I keep looking, but nothing of interest pops up. James replies, Ooh, a funny guy. Tell me, Danny, do you enjoy playing games? At this point, I think he's referring to video games. Yeah, dude, what did you have in mind? League of Legends? Dota? I don't mind. Oh, Danny, I didn't mean one of those childish games. I mean a real game. You know, the type that involves putting one's life on the line. I let out a chuckle. Someone probably hacked my Facebook account, added this weird ass account, and is now trolling me. This isn't a joke, Danny. I take these games extremely seriously. Okay, what? How did he know I laughed? Did he guess? There's no way he can see me, my camera isn't even plugged in, and how could he have gotten into my apartment? My Facebook profile had a fake address on it, and I never used my real address for anything, not even Amazon or eBay. This has to be a joke. I wrote, "Sure dude, I'm bored as hell anyway." I was buying time to try and find out where this son of a gun was. I scoured everywhere trying to find any small clue to latch onto, found something, kept going and looked into it more, eventually leading up to an address. When I looked at the address, I froze. I could feel my blood draining from my face. It was my address. I was the only one living there, but somehow this asshole was using my address as a cover. Ping! Another message. "I see you've gone extremely pale, Danny. What's the matter? Don't believe in ghosts." I couldn't move. This guy could see me. He knew every move I was making and I didn't know what to do. Do I run away and burn everything down? Fry my hard drives and shred my motherboard? What the hell is going on? Ring, ring, Danny. Ring, ring. My phone starts to ring, but it isn't James. The caller ID read Mum. I pick up. I hesitate to speak. I can't show my mom I'm afraid of something. She'd worry. I try to act cool. "Hey Mum, everything all right?" What I heard next made me drop my phone in horror. It made me realize that this was real, and this wasn't a joke. A voice, obviously modulated to hide the identity of the caller, but the threat was real, and I knew who it was. "Hey Danny, what's the weather like in Japan?" I stood frozen in horror. Panic swept over my body and thoughts flooded my mind. What happened to my mother? Is she okay? What is he doing with her phone? I knew I had to calm down. Something didn't seem right. I picked up the phone and looked at the caller ID. It just said Mum, no number. Flip. How could I be so stupid? He was just masking his caller ID. Must be to throw me off balance. I'll play along, there must be something I'm missing. Well, what are you doing with my mom's phone? Where is she? Is she okay? A laugh came from the other end. A deep, disgusting laugh. I decided to record the call. Maybe I can play around with the recording and find this caller's real voice. It may not be much, but this person knows where I live and probably who my parents are. He starts talking. "The safety of your mother depends on the outcome of our little game. I told you one's life is on the line, but I should have elaborated and said it shouldn't necessarily be the player's life, so are you ready to play?" At this point I had a thought. How can James see me? I have no cameras connected to the Wi-Fi. My desktop camera is disconnected, and I ripped out my laptop camera when I got the damn thing. Another option would be he broke into my apartment and installed cameras when I was out. But why would he risk getting caught like that? I may have cameras at home and catch him doing it. No, he must be using one of my devices. Doesn't seem like I have a choice, James. Have you checked your phone's gallery recently? Confused, I picked up my phone and opened the gallery. To my horror, there were pictures of me. Pictures I didn't remember taking. Pictures of me sleeping, eating, working on my computer, even taking a shower. It felt like every moment of my life was on display, but it wasn't just that. Among the pictures, I stumbled upon one that made my heart race even faster. It was a picture of me looking at the exact message thread I was reading, taken just minutes ago. But what made my stomach drop was the reflection in the glass window behind me in the photo. Brock, with his signature malicious grin, holding my phone, taking the picture. He had been in my apartment, hiding, observing me, and now, orchestrating this entire thing. Another message on the computer screen flashed. "Miss me, Danny? Turns out you're not the only one with friends on the dark web. You took my life away from me, and now it's my turn.